Captain Jake Morrison stood at the large window of his ship's bridge, watching the stars move past as the USS Defiant traveled through space. The ship was heading toward the edge of known space, where no human had gone before. Jake had been captain for 5 years, but he had never seen his crew this quiet. Something was wrong. Commander Lisa Brooks walked over to him holding a small computer pad. Her face was serious and Jake could see worry in her eyes. Lisa had been his second in command for 3 years, and she never looked worried unless something really bad was happening. "Captain, we just got a message from Earth Command," Lisa said, keeping her voice low. "It's marked as top secret and they want you to read it right away." Jake took the pad and read the message. His face went pale as he read the words. The message was short but frightening. "The HFY have awakened. All ships must stay far away. Do not fight them under any circumstances. This is not a suggestion. This is an order." Jake had heard stories about the HFY when he was young. Every kid in space school learned about them, but most people thought they were just scary stories. The HFY were supposed to be the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. They were said to be perfect killers who could destroy entire planets, but they had disappeared 3,000 years ago and most people thought they were dead. "Lisa, call Dr. Alan Carter to the bridge," Jake said, "and get the senior staff here too. We need to know what we're dealing with." Dr. Carter arrived first. He was a thin man with gray hair who studied alien life forms. He had been on the ship for 2 years, and he knew more about strange aliens than anyone else Jake had met. "Doctor, what can you tell us about the HFY?" Jake asked. Dr. Carter sat down and looked around the bridge. "Captain, if the HFY are really back, then we're all in serious trouble. They're not just dangerous aliens, there's something much worse." The doctor pulled up information on the main screen. Pictures of black ships with strange curves appeared. The ships looked like they were alive, not built by machines. "The HFY are the perfect hunters," Dr. Carter continued. "They've been hunting and killing for millions of years. They can change their bodies to survive in any place. They learn from every fight, and they never make the same mistake twice. Their ships are not just machines. They're living things that can heal themselves and grow stronger." Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez, who was in charge of the ship's weapons, spoke up. "How did they disappear for 3,000 years? Did someone beat them?" Dr. Carter shook his head. "No one knows. One day they were destroying whole star systems, and the next day they were gone. Some people think they went to sleep. Others think they went to a different part of the galaxy to find new things to hunt." The ship's communication officer, Katie Walsh, suddenly looked up from her station. "Captain, we're getting emergency signals from the outer colonies. Multiple ships are asking for help." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The screen showed terrible images. Colonies were burning. Ships were being torn apart by weapons that looked like living things. Black ships with organic shapes were attacking everything they could find. The attackers moved like hunting animals, not like normal spaceships. "My God," Lisa whispered. "They're not just attacking military targets. They're going after everyone." Dr. Carter studied the images carefully. "This is how they hunt. They don't just want to win battles. They want to consume everything. They take resources, technology, and even the people themselves. Nothing is left behind." Jake turned to his crew. "What's the Galactic Council doing about this?" Katie checked her communications. "Sir, the Council has ordered all member species to pull back their fleets. They're creating a big empty zone around the areas where the HFY have been seen. No one is supposed to go near them." "They're running away," Sam said, his voice filled with anger. "Every species in the galaxy is just going to let these things take whatever they want." Jake thought about this. Throughout history, when dangerous enemies appeared, most species would try to negotiate or retreat to safe areas. It was the smart thing to do. But Jake remembered his history lessons about humanity. Humans had always been different. When faced with impossible enemies, humans had a habit of doing the unexpected. "Doctor, in all your research, has any species ever tried to fight the HFY directly?" Jake asked. Dr. Carter nodded slowly. "Yes, several species tried. The Cathera had the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. They lasted 6 months. The Zephyrians were master strategists who could predict enemy movements perfectly. They lasted 3 months. The Vex-High learned from every battle and adapted faster than anyone could change their tactics. But, Dr. Carter continued, all of those species fought the way you would expect. They tried to be smarter, faster, or more advanced than the Vex-High. They played the game by the Vex-High's rules. Jake walked to the window again and looked out at the stars. What if someone didn't play by their rules? What if someone did something completely different? Lisa looked at him with concern. Captain, what are you thinking? I'm thinking that every species that faced the Vex-High tried to be better predators. But what if the answer isn't to outhunt the hunters? What if the answer is to be something they've never seen before? The bridge was quiet for a long moment. Everyone knew that Jake was thinking about something dangerous. They had all served with him long enough to know that look in his eyes. Sir, Sam said carefully, Earth Command ordered us to stay away from them. Jake smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Earth Command gave us an order based on what every other species is doing, but maybe it's time for humanity to do what we do best. And what's that, sir? Lisa asked. Something incredibly stupid that might just work. Admiral Ryan Scott stood in the main meeting room at Luna Station, looking at the faces of the most important people in human space. Military leaders, scientists, and colony representatives had come from across the solar system. The room was tense with worry and fear. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Scott began, we all know why we're here. The Vex-High have returned and every other species in the galaxy is running away. The question is, what do we do? Colonel Ben Taylor, a tall man with scars on his face from years of fighting, spoke first. Admiral, with respect, we've seen what these things can do. They destroyed the Kepler colonies in 3 days. The footage shows ships being torn apart like paper. Maybe the other species are right to run. Dr. Helen Murphy, Earth's top expert on alien life, stood up. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had spent her life studying dangerous creatures. Colonel, I've been studying the attack patterns. Yes, the Vex-High are incredibly dangerous. But there's something interesting about how they hunt. She pressed a button, and the room's screens showed images of the attacks. Look at how they move. They're perfect predators, but they hunt like animals from Earth. They expect their prey to run, hide, or try to escape. Every species they've fought has done exactly what the Vex-High expected. Captain Jake Morrison, who had arrived from his ship just hours before, raised his hand. Doctor, what are you saying exactly? I'm saying that the Vex-High are so good at what they do because they've never faced anything unexpected. They've evolved to be perfect hunters, but only against prey that acts like prey. Admiral Scott nodded slowly. Go on, Doctor. Dr. Murphy walked to the front of the room. Think about it. For 3 million years, the Vex-High have hunted species that tried to be smarter than them, faster than them, or more advanced than them. But what if a species did something completely different? What if instead of running away, they did the opposite? General Patricia Hayes, the head of Colonial Defense, laughed bitterly. You're suggesting we attack them? Doctor, they wiped out civilizations that had millions of years to prepare for war. We've only been in space for a few hundred years. I'm not suggesting we attack them, Dr. Murphy replied. I'm suggesting we challenge them. The room went quiet. Everyone stared at the doctor as if she had lost her mind. Captain Morrison leaned forward. What kind of challenge? Dr. Murphy smiled. The kind that no species has ever tried before. We send them a message, a formal challenge. We tell them that humanity is ready to face them, not as prey, but as equals. Colonel Taylor shook his head. That's suicide. They'll just kill us faster. Maybe, Dr. Murphy said, or maybe they'll be so surprised that they'll actually listen. Think about it from their perspective. For millions of years, every species has either run away or tried to fight them using the same methods. What would they do if someone did something completely unexpected? Admiral Scott rubbed his chin. It's crazy enough that it might work. But what exactly are you proposing? Dr. Murphy pulled up a star map. We send a small fleet to where the Vex-High are active, not to attack, but to deliver a message. We broadcast on all frequencies that humanity challenges them to honorable combat. Not the slaughter of defenseless colonies, but warrior against warrior. Captain Morrison stood up. I'll take the Defiant. We've already been in that sector, and my crew knows what we're dealing with. Jake, this is incredibly dangerous, Admiral Scott said. We're talking about deliberately getting the attention of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Sir, with respect, they already have our attention. The question is whether we're going to face them on our terms or theirs. Commander Lisa. Brooks, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. Admiral, I've served with Captain Morrison for years. If anyone can deliver this message and survive, it's him. Dr. Murphy nodded. There's something else. I've been studying human behavior compared to other species. We have traits that most aliens find confusing. We're willing to sacrifice ourselves for others. We don't give up even when we should. We get angry instead of afraid when we're threatened. General Hayes looked skeptical. How does that help us against perfect predators? Because perfect predators have never faced imperfect prey that refuses to act like prey, Dr. Murphy explained. The Vexi are used to hunting species that value their own survival above everything else. But humans will die to protect strangers. We'll fight impossible battles just because we're angry. We'll keep trying even when we know we're going to lose. Admiral Scott walked to the window and looked out at Earth. You're asking me to approve a plan that could get thousands of people killed and might make the Vexi angry enough to attack Earth directly. Yes, sir, Captain Morrison said. But the alternative is to sit here and wait for them to come to us. At least this way, we face them as humans, not as victims. The room was silent for a long time. Finally, Admiral Scott turned around. How many ships would you need? 12 ships, Captain Morrison replied. Small, fast vessels with volunteer crews. We're not trying to win a battle. We're trying to start a conversation. Colonel Taylor stood up. Admiral, this is madness. We're talking about poking the most dangerous beast in the galaxy just to see what happens. Maybe, Admiral Scott said. But maybe that's exactly what humanity needs to do. We've never been good at running away from fights, Dr. Murphy added. There's one more thing. If we do this, we need to be prepared for their response. The Vexi might accept our challenge, but they'll do it on their terms. We need to be ready for whatever they throw at us. Admiral Scott nodded. Captain Morrison, you have your 12 ships. Pick your crews carefully. We're about to do something that will either save humanity or doom us all. Captain Morrison saluted. Sir, I'll need volunteers who understand they might not come back. You'll have them, Admiral Scott said. Humanity has never lacked for people willing to do impossible things. As the meeting ended, everyone knew that they had just made a decision that would change everything. In a galaxy full of species that ran from danger, humanity was about to walk straight into it. The challenge was set. Now they had to survive long enough to deliver it. The USS Defiant moved slowly through the Kepler sector with 11 other human ships following behind. Captain Jake Morrison stood on his bridge, watching the empty space around them. 3 days had passed since they entered Vexi territory, and they had seen nothing but the remains of destroyed colonies. Captain, we're picking up strange readings, said Lieutenant Katie Walsh from her position at the communications station. It's like something is watching us, but I can't get a clear signal. Commander Lisa Brooks checked her instruments. All ships are reporting the same thing. We're definitely not alone out here. Dr. Alan Carter, who had insisted on coming along despite the danger, studied his scanner readings. The energy patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. It's almost like the space around us is alive. Captain Morrison nodded. They know we're here. The question is when they'll decide to show themselves. As if responding to his words, the space in front of the human fleet began to change. The stars seemed to bend and twist, and then massive shapes appeared from nowhere. The Vexi ships materialized like living nightmares, their black hulls moving and flowing like liquid metal. My God, whispered Lisa as she stared at the alien vessels. They're beautiful and terrible at the same time. The Vexi ships were unlike anything humans had ever built. They looked grown rather than constructed, with curves and patterns that hurt to look at directly. The largest ship was easily 5 times the size of the Defiant, and smaller vessels moved around it like a school of deadly fish. Captain, we're completely surrounded. reported Sam Rodriguez from the USS Ranger. I count at least 30 ships, and more are appearing every few seconds. Jake took a deep breath. This is it, people. Katie, try to establish communication. Use every frequency we have. Katie worked at her station trying different signals and patterns. Sir, I'm getting something, but it's not like normal radio. It's going directly into my head. Suddenly, every human on every ship felt a cold presence touch their minds. It was like having someone walk through their thoughts, examining everything they were and everything they knew. The sensation was overwhelming and frightening. A voice spoke inside their heads, but it wasn't really a voice. It was pure thought, cold and calculating. Strange creatures, you do not flee, you do not hide. Why do you come to our hunting ground? Captain Morrison fought against the mental intrusion and managed to speak out loud. We are humans. We've come to deliver a message. The presence in their minds seemed amused. Humans, we have observed your species from afar. Small, weak, short-lived. You should be running to the far edges of your space, yet you come here willingly. We're not running, Jake said, his voice getting stronger. We're here to issue a challenge. The mental pressure increased, and several crew members on different ships cried out in pain. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the pressure eased. The alien presence seemed genuinely surprised. Challenge? No prey has ever spoken this word to us. Explain this strange concept. Dr. Carter stepped forward, despite the fear on his face. We challenge you to face us in honorable combat. Not the slaughter of defenseless colonies, but warrior against warrior. A test of strength and skill. The presence was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something different in its mental voice. I am what your minds would call the Prime Hunter. For 3 million years we have hunted across the galaxy. Never has prey offered to become predator. We're not prey, Lisa said firmly. We're humans. We don't run from fights. The Prime Hunter's thoughts turned darker. You misunderstand your position, small creatures. We are not warriors. We are hunters. We do not fight for honor or sport. We hunt for survival and growth. Your colonies feed us. Your technology advances us. Your people become part of us. Captain Morrison felt his anger rising, which was exactly what he had hoped would happen. Then you're nothing but bullies picking on the weak. Where's the skill in hunting defenseless people? Where's the challenge in destroying those who can't? Fight back. The mental pressure returned, but this time it felt different. The Prime Hunter was not trying to hurt them. It was studying them, trying to understand what these strange creatures were thinking. You seek death, yet you do not smell of despair. You face extinction, yet your minds burn with determination. This is behavior we have never encountered. Katie managed to speak despite the pressure in her head. Because we're not like the others. We don't accept defeat just because the odds are bad. Sam's voice came over the communication system from the Ranger. We've seen what you can do to helpless colonies. But can you hunt prey that hunts you back? The Prime Hunter's presence withdrew slightly from their minds. Fascinating. Your species displays pack behavior, yet you think as individuals. You fear death, yet you choose to face it. You are weak, yet you refuse to submit. Dr. Carter, his voice shaking but determined, added, We're offering you something you've never had before, a real hunt. Not against creatures trying to escape, but against opponents who will fight back with everything they have. The alien ships moved closer, and the humans could see strange lights pulsing along their hulls. The vessels seemed to be communicating with each other in ways that human instruments couldn't detect. Your challenge intrigues us, the Prime Hunter finally said. But you do not understand what you ask. We do not play games. We do not show mercy. If we accept your challenge, we will hunt you across the stars until nothing remains. Captain Morrison smiled grimly. Good. We wouldn't want it any other way. The mental presence pressed deeper into their thoughts, and the humans could feel the Prime Hunter examining their memories, their fears, their hopes. It was looking for something, trying to understand what made these creatures so different from every other species it had encountered. Very well, the Prime Hunter said at last. We accept your challenge, but we will hunt you as we hunt all prey. You will have no safe places, no reinforcements, no mercy. You have one of your months to survive and prove you are more than food. The HFY ships began to move into hunting formation, and the humans could feel the excitement and hunger radiating from the alien vessels. If you survive, we will speak again. If you do not, you will feed us as all the others have. The Prime Hunter's thoughts turned cold and predatory. The hunt begins now. The alien ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving the human fleet alone in empty space. But everyone knew they were still being watched, still being hunted. Well, Jake said to his crew, we got their attention. Now we have to survive long enough to prove we're worth their respect. The hunt began at dawn on the second day. Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez was sleeping in his captain's chair aboard the USS Ranger when the alarm started screaming. His ship shook violently as something hit the shields. Report, Sam shouted as he jumped to his feet. 3 HFY ships just appeared out of nowhere, called out his weapons officer, Danny Park. They're firing some kind of energy weapon that's draining our shields fast. Sam looked at the main screen and saw the alien ships moving around his vessel like sharks circling wounded prey. They were smaller than the command ship they had met before, but they moved with the same deadly grace. All ships, this is Ranger, Sam broadcast to the other human vessels. We're under attack. They're using hit-and-run tactics. The USS Falcon, commanded by Captain Lucy White, was the first to respond. We're coming to help, Sam. Just hold on. But before the Falcon could reach them, the HFY ships vanished again, leaving the Ranger damaged but alive. Sam stared at the empty space where the attackers had been just seconds before. They're testing us, said his science officer, Tony Chen. They want to see how we fight, how we react under pressure. Over the next week, the pattern repeated across all 3 star systems where the hunt was taking place. The HFY would appear without warning, attack 1 or 2 human ships, then disappear before reinforcements could arrive. They were learning from every encounter, studying human tactics and weapons. Captain Morrison aboard the Defiant was reviewing battle reports when Commander Brooks brought him bad news. Jake, we've lost 2 ships already. The USS Phoenix went down yesterday and the USS Thunder was destroyed this morning. The crews managed to escape in life pods, but the ships are gone. Jake studied the tactical display showing the positions of the remaining human ships. They're picking us off one by one. Every time we try to group together for protection, they hit the ships on the outside of our formation. Dr. Carter, who had been studying the attack patterns, looked up from his computer. Captain, I think I'm starting to understand how they hunt. They're not just using superior technology. They're using behavior patterns that have worked for millions of years. Explain, Jake said. Think of wolves hunting deer, Dr. Carter continued. The wolves don't just run straight at the herd. They circle around, make noise, cause panic. They separate the weak ones from the group, then take them down one at a time. Commander Brooks nodded. That's exactly what they're doing to us. They attack. We try to help each other, and while we're moving to assist, they hit someone else. Jake walked to the window and stared out at the stars. So we need to stop acting like deer. Meanwhile, on the USS Valiant, Commander Pete Johnson was having similar thoughts. His ship had been hit 3 times in the past 5 days, and each attack had been different from the last. The HFY were adapting faster than humans could change their tactics. Sir, said his engineer, Maria Santos, I've been looking at the damage patterns from all our ships. The HFY weapons seem to learn from each hit. The first shot always does the most damage, but if we survive, the same weapon is less effective the next time. Pete thought about this. So they expect us to use the same defenses every time. But what if we didn't? Maria smiled. What if we deliberately made our defenses look weaker than they really are? That night, Pete put his plan into action. When the HFY attacked the Valiant, he let them hit his shields with their usual weapons. But instead of strengthening the shields like they expected, he shut them down completely and used the ship's armor plating to absorb the damage. The alien ships paused, clearly confused by this unexpected response. In that moment of hesitation, Pete fired back with weapons the HFY had never seen before. simple explosive missiles that his crew had built from spare parts. One of the Vex-High ships took a direct hit and limped away, damaged for the first time since the hunt began. "Did you see that?" Pete broadcast to the other human ships. "They don't know how to handle something completely unexpected." Captain Morrison received the message and immediately understood. "All ships, this is Defiant. New orders. Stop trying to fight them the way they expect. Use everything you have, no matter how primitive or stupid it seems." The tide of the hunt began to change. Human ships started using tactics that made no sense to the Vex-High. Captain White on the Falcon began, using her ship's cargo bay as a giant slingshot, launching chunks of metal at enemy vessels. The USS Storm, commanded by Captain Frank Miller, started broadcasting loud music during battles, which seemed to confuse the Vex-High's sensor systems. But the real turning point came when Captain Morrison made a decision that shocked everyone, including his own crew. The Defiant was badly damaged after a particularly fierce attack. The ship's engines were failing, life support was running low, and Jake knew they wouldn't survive another assault. "Lisa," he said to his second-in-command, "get everyone to the escape pods." "Jake, what are you talking about?" Lisa asked. "The Vex-High are coming back to finish us off. I can feel it. When they do, I'm going to ram this ship straight into their command vessel." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at their captain as if he had lost his mind. "Sir," said Katie Walsh, "that's suicide." Jake smiled sadly. "Maybe, but it's also something they'll never expect. The Vex-High think of us as prey trying to survive. They don't understand that sometimes humans choose to die to protect others." Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jake, there has to be another way." "There is," Jake said. "You're going to take command of the remaining ships and keep fighting. But first you're going to watch me do something that will make the Vex-High think twice about what humans really are." The crew reluctantly prepared to abandon ship, but Jake stayed behind on the bridge. When the Vex-High ships appeared for their final attack, they expected to find a helpless, damaged vessel trying to escape. Instead, they found the Defiant accelerating directly toward them at full speed. Jake opened a communication channel to all the remaining human ships. "This is Captain Morrison. Remember this moment. Show them that humans don't just fight to win. We fight because it's who we are." The Defiant struck the largest Vex-High ship at full speed, creating an explosion that lit up the entire star system. Both ships were destroyed instantly. In the silence that followed, something changed in the hunt. The remaining human ships could feel it. The Vex-High had never encountered prey that would deliberately sacrifice itself not to escape, but to fight back. For the first time in 3 million years, the perfect predators had learned something new about the nature of prey, and they were impressed. Commander Lisa Brooks stood on the bridge of the USS Ranger, now the lead ship of what remained of the human fleet. 3 weeks had passed since Jake Morrison's sacrifice, and only 6 human ships were still fighting. But something had changed. In the hunt, the Vex-High were no longer attacking like simple predators. They seemed confused, uncertain. After Captain Morrison crashed the Defiant into their command ship, the alien hunters had pulled back for 2 full days. When they returned, they fought differently. "Lisa, we're getting strange readings from the Vex-High ships," said Dr. Carter, who had transferred to the Ranger after the Defiant's destruction. "Their energy patterns are different. It's like they're having arguments with each other." Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez, whose ship was badly damaged but still fighting, appeared on the communication screen. "Commander Brooks, my science officer thinks the Vex-High are having some kind of internal conflict. They keep stopping in the middle of attacks like they can't decide what to do." Lisa nodded. "I've noticed it too. Yesterday, one of their ships had a clear shot at the Storm, but it just sat there for almost 10 minutes before flying away." Dr. Carter pulled up his analysis on the main screen. "I think Captain Morrison's sacrifice broke something in their understanding of how prey behaves. For millions of years, they've hunted species that only cared about their own survival. But Jake deliberately gave up his life to damage them, not to save himself. So they don't know how to handle us anymore?" asked Katie Walsh, who had also survived the Defiant's destruction. It's more than that, Dr. Carter explained. I think we've shown them something they've never seen before. We've proven that their perfect hunting methods don't work against prey that refuses to act like prey. Suddenly, the space around the human fleet began to shimmer. The massive HFY hive ship appeared, larger than anything they had seen before. It was easily the size of a small moon, covered in organic patterns that pulsed with dark energy. All ships prepare for final attack, Lisa ordered, knowing that their small fleet couldn't possibly survive against something so massive. But instead of attacking, the hive ship just sat there. Then, the familiar cold presence touched their minds again, but this time it felt different. Less certain, less predatory. Humans. The Prime Hunter's voice echoed in their thoughts. You have completed your challenge time. You have survived 1 month. Lisa stood straight, speaking for all, the remaining humans. Yes, we have, and we damaged your forces in the process. You have done more than damage us, the Prime Hunter replied. You have shown us something we believed impossible. We must speak with you directly. A beam of light shot out from the hive ship and surrounded the Ranger. Lisa felt a strange pulling sensation, and suddenly she found herself standing in a vast chamber inside the alien vessel. The Prime Hunter stood before her, and Lisa gasped at what she saw. The creature was tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to shift between different colors, but what shocked her most were its eyes. They looked tired, almost sad. For 3 million years we have hunted, the Prime Hunter said, speaking out, loud now instead of using mental communication. We believed this was our purpose, our nature. We were perfect predators because we understood that all prey wants only to survive. Lisa looked around the chamber and saw other HFY watching. Their conversation. They all had the same tired look in their eyes. But your species has shown us something we never considered. The Prime Hunter continued. You fight not just to survive, but for reasons we do not understand. Your captain gave his life not to escape us, but to hurt us. This behavior makes no sense to a predator. It makes sense to us, Lisa said firmly. Jake died to protect the rest of us. He died to show you that humans don't give up even when we should. The Prime Hunter walked to a large window that showed the stars outside. We have spent so long being perfect hunters that we forgot we could be anything else. We consume other species, take their technology, absorb their knowledge. But we never grow beyond what we are. Dr. Carter's voice came through Lisa's communication device. Commander, are you safe? We lost contact with you. Lisa spoke into her device. I'm fine, Doctor. I'm inside their ship, talking with their leader. We have been listening to your communications, the Prime Hunter said. Your Dr. Carter spoke of evolution, of growing beyond what we are. This concept is strange to us. Lisa thought carefully about her next words. Prime Hunter, you've been perfect predators for millions of years. But perfection means you can't change, can't improve. Humans are far from perfect, but that means we can always become something better. The Prime Hunter turned back to her. What are you proposing? Stop being just hunters, Lisa said. Your species is incredibly advanced. You could be explorers, teachers, protectors. You could help other species instead of destroying them. The alien leader was quiet for a long time. Around the chamber, other HFY whispered to each other in their own language. The hunt has changed us, the Prime Hunter finally said. For the first time in our existence, we have faced prey that made us question our nature. You have survived not because you are stronger or smarter, but because you are something we never expected. What's that? Lisa asked. You are stubborn, the Prime Hunter said, and Lisa could swear she heard amusement in its voice. Impossibly, foolishly stubborn. You refuse to accept defeat even when it is certain. Lisa smiled. That's probably the nicest thing anyone has ever said about humans. The Prime Hunter made a sound that might have been laughter. We accept that your species has won this challenge. But more than that, you have given us something we did not know we needed. What's that? A new purpose. For too long we have been what we are. Now perhaps we can become what we could be. The beam of light surrounded Lisa again, and she found herself back on the Ranger's bridge. But this time, she wasn't alone. The Prime Hunter stood beside her, its tall form somehow fitting in the human-sized space. "Your species and ours will work together," the Prime Hunter announced to the shocked human crew. "We will explore the regions beyond known space. We will face the unknown not as hunters and prey but as allies." Dr. Carter stared at the alien leader in amazement. "You're serious? You want to work with us?" "Your species has shown us that there are things more important than hunting," the Prime Hunter replied. "Perhaps it is time for the HFY to learn what it means to be human." Lisa looked around at her crew, seeing hope in their faces for the first time in weeks. "What about the rest of the galaxy? The other species are still afraid of you?" The Prime Hunter nodded. "They should be, but now they will fear us for a different reason. They will fear that we have learned from the most dangerous prey in the galaxy. They will fear that we have learned to be stubborn." As the human ships and the HFY fleet began their journey toward the unknown regions of space, Lisa realized that humanity had done something unprecedented. They had not just survived the galaxy's perfect predators. They had taught them how to evolve.